What is going on, guys? DBG here, and this is going to be kind of an unscripted rant video. Again, I have not made one of these in a couple of weeks, and it's just frustrating with NBA 2K20, and the new patch yesterday kind of summed it all up, but I'm not really going to talk too much about the patch itself. It has been done to death by everybody. We all know that the patch notes basically said nothing. It said there are many fixes. Like, it's gotten to the stage where even people that are not in the 2K community are writing articles about how much of a joke their patch notes are. Like, their patch notes, they had one legitimate note. One was, they were like, fixes to this, fixes to that. It doesn't say what the fixes were. And there was one legitimate patch note, and then the last patch note was, of the 4 bullet points, there were many, many more fixes. Like, what's the point of that? What is the point of giving us that information? That's not giving us information. And the problem is when they say many, many more fixes, a lot of their, quote, I'm not even going to call them fixes. 2K basically have realized that there is something in their game that is exploitable. So rather than finding a way of fixing it, they break the game to mask the problem. So this video, I'm going to just look at it more from a perspective of my team and what they did, obviously, with the sub situation, and then look back at stuff from like the start of the year and even last year and the reasons why they've done certain things. So position locks should never be a thing in my team, and I don't mean like they haven't, like they have genuinely, I think they've benefited the gameplay. I'm not gonna lie, I think they have. I was kind of iffy on them at first, but at the minute I think they benefited the gameplay. But the thing is that 2K were unable to make a video game that didn't reward you for using giants at every position. Height was so much of a factor. They couldn't figure out a way of making small players usable. So they had to implement position locks. They had to implement position locks because the game was so flawed that height was such a big factor, and they couldn't figure out a way to make height less of a factor, so they basically tried to completely negate height by making position locks. And I'm not saying position locks was a bad thing. I'm not. But again, rather than fixing the actual problem that undersized players weren't very good, they masked the problem with position locks. So you kind of almost were forced to use smaller players, but now you're seeing more and more like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and stuff dominating. You get a Shea card with quick draw and it's game over. You're seeing tall point guards kind of ruling the game right now. So it's only a matter of time until we get a Giannis card or a LeBron card can play the point, a Luka card can play the point, a Giannis card, and then it's just game over. But look, right now point guards are being used by most players. They are usable. The quick first step badge was basically one of the most broken things. So to make the game to negate the fact that off ball was too powerful, which the problem was that in 2K18 the blow by existed and no one could guard anyone, and then they took out the blow by and they realized, oh crap, off ball with no blow by, off ball defense is going to reign supreme. So what did they do? Like, off ball defense was not very good last year, but there were ways of beating it. But then the blow by came back. The blow by came back with the quick first step badge, and it was just game over. Like, all of a sudden the game became 2K18.5. You spread the floor out, you ran to the basket, and you got a dunk every single time. So the gameplay was severely, severely flawed in terms of the fact that it was almost impossible to guard 5 out again because you literally couldn't guard the ball handler. Like, there were very, very few defenders. Even if you had Hall of Fame clamps, the blow by was still a thing. So it meant that you basically were forced to play on-ball defense. But at the same time, if you played someone who just played stop-start, herky-jerky, 2K18 style offense, they would go to the basket every single time. But what did 2K do? Because everyone's running 5 out and running with a lot of shooters, they just got rid of 5 out. And not in a way, they didn't tell us they got rid of it, they just got rid of it. And it wasn't like the plays disappeared. It wasn't like the freelances, the setup into 5 out, those freelances disappeared. It got to the stage where if you selected a freelance which was previously 5 out, it just ran something different. So the Milwaukee Bucks 2018 freelance, The Milwaukee Bucks in real life run a play where Giannis is at the top of the 3-point line, and they spread out. The two wings spread outside the key, and they spread high in a position probably about a meter away from the 3-point line to give better spacing for Giannis, and the two big spot up in the corner. They play a 5-out isolation set with ideal spacing for the NBA, which is hence why players are spotting up at weird ranges, but that is literally the Milwaukee Bucks offense. I'm not complaining about that. But now, every single offense that led to something to do with 5-out ended up just going into 4-out 1-in. And not even a 4-out 1-in offense with proper spacing. It was a 4-out 1-in offense that basically, players would constantly cut. So if you dumped the ball inside, someone would run at the post player to bring an automatic double team or triple team if you count your own player, and the spacing was just room. No one was shooting the ball. It was all a case of you were being double teamed by your own player half the time. It was just a disaster. Obviously, people found out ways of still running 5-out type offenses. It's a little bit more manageable now, but I just run the Hawks offense, which is a 4-out 1-in where the players actually go into proper positions. So that's why I like that play. These players don't make dumb cuts. But again, the 5-out situation, all they did was realize our game is broken. The game is so flawed that there are unstoppable offenses and they're not like exploits. 5-out is not an exploit. 5-out is a way of playing basketball. And in real life, if you have one player who can go by every single player on the other team and you surround them with 4 shooters, you better believe a team would play that offense in real life. Hence with the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis. It is not an exploit, it is a real basketball tactic. But 2K realized their game is so flawed that you could do it with basically everybody, and there was no other style of play that could compete with 5-out. And that was by far the most successful way of playing, and unless you played that style, you pretty much stood absolutely no chance of winning games. So what did 2K do? They just took it out. They took it out. They didn't actually try to fix their game. They didn't try to nerf the quick first step badge, which would have half fixed everything. They didn't try to, maybe upgrade defensive AI so that they rotated better off 5-out, because it's not an unstoppable offense in real life. With the way people rotate and stuff, you can make good rotations and you can get stops easily enough in real life in that play. Well, maybe not with Giannis, but there's ways of stopping it. And 2K, instead of trying to implement the ways people deal with it in real life, they decided that's too much work, let's just take it out of the game. And then we got the whole sub situation. So first of all, something happened in a previous patch where you literally could not change your bench lineup in the pause menu. We had no idea why that happened, but it turned out it was because people found out an exploit to get basically your players out of position in the game. And position locks, again, shouldn't be such a big factor, because point guard should have an advantage to be ran at a point guard over a 6'11 Jonathan Isaac. But 2K's game's so flawed that they thought it was game breaking. So people obviously found a way of playing people out of position. And look, I never came up against it once. I don't think it was that big a deal, but people found a way. And you know what 2K have done? You guys know what 2K have done. They have made it so that you literally cannot sub your bench in anymore or sub in your starters. At least maybe get rid of all your bench lineups, but at least let you sub back in your starters so you're not having to make subs every individual time. You are literally, and it's not even like it was back in the day where you could press down and then slide through players. Like in NBA 2K, I think it was up to 2K16, where you could actually make subs on the fly and it worked. They changed it in 2K17, and it's been terrible since. There's a reason nobody does it, and now we have to do it. You are basically forced to either take a timeout or sacrifice an entire offense. It takes about 20 seconds to sub in 5 players. You have to sacrifice an entire offense or a timeout to make subs. To make subs in this game, or a pause. And again, the reason was because 2K realized their game is broken, that there is something broken in the game which has allowed people to exploit position locks and play whoever they want, wherever they want off their bench. And instead of 2K figuring out, okay, how do we fix this? What's wrong that's let people do this? How do we fix it? They've decided, let's just break subs so that people can't do this exploit. Let's break something that worked perfectly fine. Actually, no, it didn't. It didn't even work perfectly fine. Let's break it and then break it again in order to fix an exploit or not, in order to mask an exploit they don't want to fix. 2K have not fixed anything this year. All they've done is masked their exploits. We have 10 gigabyte patches to basically break the game to mask the flaws. There is not one thing that has been, well, in the myteam, I don't know about Park, there is not one thing that has been fixed except for the timeout glitch, which still happens on occasion. Very rarely, but they actually didn't fix anything. And that's what I'm so annoyed about. I'm so annoyed that people are just talking about, oh, they don't let us make subs. And they're not talking about the whole bigger picture. Is that since NBA 2K, really since NBA 2K18, the blow-by, all they've done is, obviously, I believe taking out the blow-by was a fix. That is a joke that that's in the game. And the fact that Slasher Takeover meant the blow-by was in 2K19, I think 2K19 is the best gameplay we've had in a long time. Off-ball's OP, but wasn't too bothered by that. But since NBA 2K20, since the very start, since the start of development, they saw the things that they thought were a little bit overpowered in NBA 2K19, and rather than actually changing the whole mechanics, they've brought in things like bringing back the blow-by to mask the fact that off-ball's broken. And then everything else has been, they realize the game's not good, and instead of fixing the game, they're bringing in constant things, and I'm going to, for lack of a better word, they are breaking the game more and more to try and mask the already broken things. They're like, okay, what is the lesser of two evils? Our game is broken, but we can put resources into fixing it, or we can break something else which masks what previously was fixed and hope that people don't mind. It's gotten to the stage where it's like that. This game is a joke. This is an absolute joke, and I don't know whether it's the higher ups in 2K, I don't know whether it's the developers. I hate blaming specific people because I know everybody that works for 2K wants the game to be better. I know how much work the developers put in, but whoever is the one that's making these decisions, like, I don't even know anymore. I just don't even know. Like, I know it's a filler before 2K21, but your game makes so much money. It makes hundreds of millions every year. Like, Take-Two have got to at least try to fix something. And my hope is that everything's been so bad because 2K21 next gen is going to be unbelievable. And with the way 2K transitions between consoles, I think that will be the case. But NBA 2K20 is by far the worst 2K we've had. And I'm not talking about Park. Supposedly Park is fine, but I mean myteam gameplay wise. 18, I've never seen a bigger jump between 17 and 8 in a game than 17 and 18. So 2K took a risk with 18, changed everything, and it didn't pay off. It didn't pay off, but they took a risk. They tried to change it. And then 2K19, they basically reverted it back to almost the way it was in 2K17. A little bit less arcadey, a little more overpowered off-ball, and we liked that game. Most of us did anyway. And I'm not talking about Park. 5v5 2K19 was good. And then they basically they took everything good from 2K19 and turned it into 2K18 with 10 times more patches. Like, they've basically tried to fix what is a broken leg with some tape and hope that we last long enough in the game that we don't re-break it. I don't know what better analogy to use, but yeah, this is about a 13-minute long rant, and this is NBA 2K20. This is what it's going to be for the year, and I can guarantee I'll make another one when there's another exploit, and rather than trying to fix the exploit, they either ban people that do the exploit, or they break something else in order to make sure that the exploit can no longer be done. And then when you do that, rather than fixing it, another exploit that's probably worse pops up. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.